As professional seekers after the truth, the two investigators called in by the post office to look into the Horizon computer system assumed they'd be allowed to do just that. But as they made crystal clear to us on the day they finally gave evidence to the public inquiry, how wrong they were. In fact, accountants Ian Henderson and Ron Warmington became victims themselves of what they called the evil of the post office. They were threatened, they say, as well as dismissed when they started uncovering the truth about the faulty Horizon system. Inside the inquiry room, Mr. Henderson said they were obstructed at every turn.
They became much more adversarial. I felt that they were protecting the brand. They didn't want difficult information to see the light of day, and we were having to fight constantly for access to documents that we felt were relevant to our work.
But it was in our interview that Mr. Henderson and Mr. Warmington made their most stinging criticisms. In the ITV Mr. Bates drama, they were represented by a single character. Today, they spoke with one voice in condemning post office management, in particular Chief Executive Paula Venables, and they suggested the police should now investigate.
They're unlikely heroes, two number crunchers, bean counters, lifesavers.
It's probably one of the most difficult cases that you and I have ever worked on, but it's by miles the most important.
Yeah, it's when you meet the sub-postmasters, that's why you do it, because they're the heart of the community, and they were badly let down by post office, and it was a privilege and a pleasure to have a small part to play in getting things to where we are now.
This is the first time they've spoken together about the case that almost destroyed them too.
I mean, I've come across evil behaviour many, many times in my life, really evil people. But here you've got terrible behaviour.
You know, the threats of legal action against us, the threats of personal bankruptcy, for example.
So you were threatened with annihilation as a
professional and as an individual.
And how did you respond to that?
I've been shot at, I've been blown up. I'm not going to be intimidated by threats like that.
Ian served in the army before he became a forensic accountant, but nothing prepared him or his partner for their battle with the post office.
The closer we got to the truth, the more difficult post office was.
The problem was surely that your client, the post office, was also the culprit in all this.
Yes, and they didn't want us to do the job that we were appointed to do, which is to seek the truth irrespective of the consequences.
Isn't that evidence of the beginning of a conspiracy?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard to interpret it as anything else.
Not many accountants get their stories retold as TV drama. But the emotion and the gratitude of the real Lee Castleton and other victims is genuine.
You know, you listened when nobody else was listening. You searched for the truth when people just didn't really care. I can't thank you enough for that. I don't think I'll ever forget that. Thank you.
Blimey, you'll have me blubbing again. But, you know, we both had to be courageous on that.
My parents ran a post office for many years. And very early on, I realised that we were looking at miscarriages of justice and misconduct by senior people within sort of post office. And I wanted to expose that and make sure that the real facts, the true facts, became known.
Because people who run local post offices like your parents, they're honest, upstanding pillars of the community.
That's certainly what I'd expect, and in the vast majority of cases, that's what we find.
And here they were being
accused of all sorts of things. It was implausible. I mean, there was so much that just didn't make sense. Why would suddenly hundreds of sub-postmasters go rogue and start stealing from the post office?
Secretly, Ron began to tape conversations with the post office high command.
Just to let you know, Paula has now joined the call.
Hi, Ian.
Yeah, hi, Paula.
Hi, Paula.
Hi, Ron.
It's something I'd never done before. I didn't trust what they were saying.
In this recording obtained by ITV News, he tells them the Horizon IT system is flawed.
That is really dangerous ground.
A warning they ignored. Colleagues talked Ron out of quitting.
If you pull out, there'll be nothing between the Wolves and the postmasters. So don't pull out.
And that's where you stayed?
And that's why we stayed.
To Ron Warmington and Ian Henderson from Second Sight.
Paula Venables began her testimony to the inquiry with an apology to the men who helped bring her down.
And I'm very, very sorry for that.
They have waited 12 years to deliver their judgment on her.
I'm certain that she knew, but I think her brain seems to be working in a way that allows herself to know something and then to dismiss it from her mind.
I didn't find her a detailed person. She did not really engage. She was more a PR person, and of course we now know that so many decisions are actually being made by the PR department rather than line managers.
Paula Venables denies wrongdoing. She's insisted she too was misled by her staff. But Ron and Ian believe the police should now pick up where the accountants left off. John Ray, News at 10.